Hi everyone, this is the Hub podcast and it is episode 29. And you may tell if you're watching from behind me, we do have the sun in the background. We are officially in spring, and it always uplifts me, and I hope it does uplift you no matter when you are listening to the recording, for it to help you in business, as that exactly is what the Hub podcast is all about. And it is about sales and lead generation, guys, for the month of May, because I'm not sure if you're feeling it too, feeling a little bit stuck in the mud, trying to attract the desired revenue and sales into your business. It's felt a little bit sticky, hasn't it? So, as you know, in the Hub, we always address the topic, or should I say, the elephant in the room for our members. And it has been very much the topic of conversation, that a lot of you have felt that stick in the mud too when it comes to sales. So, as you know, we're not a sales expert. We do have sales as our background and experience, but we're not the expert. So we invite the experts into this Hub community to our listeners to help you if you're feeling it too. And when I put the vote out to the community and to our listeners, you very much agreed. So we have the lovely Ian, who you can see on screen via YouTube, who is here today to just share a little bit of insight into why that would be. If you are listening to this on Spotify, Apple or Google Play, you can find the video to this recording through Ask Zoe YouTube, or you can put comments and we'll come back to you if you want further help on this. But Ian, do you just want to share who you are to our listeners, please?
Yeah, so I'm Ian Genius with an Ian Genius alternative to selling.
He definitely is. And I absolutely love the name and the sales and the brand. And we met Ian through an online community through WhatsApp, through Angela Richardson from Range Communications. And we've developed that relationship kind of probably, I think now for about six months to a year, haven't we, Ian? And learning and getting advice from one another. And just when, you guys were saying, we're feeling a bit, stuck in the mud, what used to work in sales isn't working in sales anymore. I thought Ian was the perfect expert for this month because he's got a very different and unique way to the approach of selling that you may not have considered yet. So just tell us a little bit more about your background, Ian, and your different way to selling. Where does that come from, to explain a little bit of background to our listeners?
Yeah, so I'm the sales trainer that hates selling.
Yeah.
So, um, my background was mathematics. I went to Nottingham, I studied mathematics. I love problem solving. Left the degree, finished the degree, no money, no job, no clue. I don't know if that's standard procedure for
Yeah.
finishing. You get to the end of an educational journey, no money, no clue, absolutely nothing at all. And then suddenly, you've got to sort out a job. And I decided to be a salesman.
Hmm.
There's only one problem with that. And the problem is, I absolutely loathe selling, which seems quite a fundamental problem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always hated being sold to. I find
Hmm.
most sales approaches are sleazy, pushy, dishonest,
Hmm.
manipulative. I wasn't confident selling myself. I was
Hmm.
uncomfortable bringing up my price. I just found, oh, it was horrible. But I was working in a phone shop at the time and I had to sell more phones, more leather
Hmm.
cases, more itemized billing, loads. So I
Hmm.
thought, well, how likely is it I'm going to get good at the thing I don't like?
Yeah.
Right? In life, we tend to not be good at the things that we don't like.
Hmm. I agree.
So, as a problem solver, I thought, what if there was a far easier solution to the problem?
Yeah.
A far more effective solution to the problem?
Hmm.
What if you could make it so easy to buy, you didn't need to get better at selling?
Yeah.
What if you could make it so easy to buy that clients close their own sales?
Yeah.
So, for the next 25 years, as the salesman, sales manager, sales director, sales trainer, I've spent 25 years removing the sleazy, pushy manipulation
Yeah.
out of selling. just to make it easier for people to make the right choice. So that's where it stems from. I'm Ian Genius with an Ian Genius alternative to selling. Clients get more clients taking more services for more money, and they don't have to rely on any pushy, sleazy sales techniques.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing because it is a very different approach, rightly. So I'm sure our listeners can, when we think of sales, we always have a picture in our mind of the sleazy salesman and the pushy technique. Because you know, I very much agree. When we're talking about sales, I always say to my clients, remove the term sales. You know, it is sales. Yes, you get in that business, but nobody likes to be sold to, yourself included. So are we actually solving the problem, you know, in that objection handling, you know, in that sales conversation? And can we change the narrative? Can we change the terminology? And I know you very much, you know, agree with that and deliver that, you know, within your technique. So why do you think, you know, business owners at this moment in time are feeling stuck and feeling stuck in the mud? You know, are you seeing that with your clients, you know, in terms of why people are coming to you for that support at the moment? What's your opinion on this, you know, feeling within the business community at the minute, not attracting enough sales to the business?
I mean, it's certainly true of the current time that people are struggling to attract customers, and they're
Mm-hmm.
struggling to convert potential clients, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the two problems are, if you're an ambitious business,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if you're struggling or you're doing brilliantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your ambition is to do better. So if you're struggling, it's to not struggle. If you're doing well, it's to do
Yeah.
better. But there's some desire to do something better. They'd love more clients taking higher ticket services for even more money.
Mm-hmm.
So they've ultimately got one of two problems.
Mm-hmm.
They're not having enough conversations,
Yeah.
and too many of their conversations are fizzling out.
Yeah.
And in reality, they've got both problems. They're not having enough conversations, and too many of their conversations are fizzling
Yeah.
out. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's always been true, right? But I mean, one of the reasons why this happens,
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of reasons, but one of the reasons why conversations fizzle out is that clients obsess over the price of the service.
Yeah.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
when a client obsesses over the price of the service, one or two things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
They'll either not use you,
Yeah.
and they'll go to a cheaper competitor, do it themselves badly, or do nothing because that's all cheaper, or they
Yeah.
do use them, but they always settle for the low ticket offerings. The
Yeah.
client will take one of the five services that are being
Mm-hmm.
recommended, or
Yeah.
they use the bronze instead of the gold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason is they're not seeing enough value,
Yeah.
therefore they're focusing on price. But if you take the current climate where everyone is struggling,
Yeah.
because price is even more of an issue now than it ever was because of bills, the cost
Yeah.
of food, everything,
Mm-hmm.
there
I
is
agree.
even more focus on price.
Yeah.
So it's not that this world did not exist before. Clients always obsessed over price because they didn't see the true value.
Yeah.
It's just even more true now.
Yeah.
It's just so again you've got an extra battle. It's not a battle that
Mm-hmm.
started. It's just a tougher battle to win than it was before.
Yeah, definitely. And we're seeing that, you know, trend with a lot of our customers as well. And we were even speaking about it this morning in terms of, you know, we normally educate the clients to have a core market share offer. Because if we have too much choice, you know, it's like a kid in a sweet shop, you know, they don't really know what to pick. They want it all and they can't afford it all. And we're telling our clients at the moment, trying to go back to basics because of this problem of, you know, price, or, you know, as you've mentioned about the fizzle out and the wanting to do it themselves. Do you think that's contributing as well at the moment, that, you know, people within our business community are offering too much choice to the customers, or do you think it's opposite, that they need to offer more for that objection on the cost point of view?
I think, I mean, if you go to something that's not sales, well, not really sales related, if you talk about Gordon Ramsay, you know, when he
Yeah.
goes into a restaurant, they've got 17 starters, 64 mains, 32 puddings.
Yeah.
So you get lost in a choice.
Yeah.
Whereas if you keep to three starters, three mains, three puddings,
Yeah.
it's very easy. right? So from me, I mean, there's pluses and minuses to everything, but
Yeah.
if there are too many options, the choice that's made is to choose nothing.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to, we all know if you go to Sainsbury's, you go in for bread and milk,
Yeah.
you come out £40 lighter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So often all you need to do is get someone to open the door
Hmm.
and just start the game.
Yeah.
So typically if you have like an opening gambit price,
Yeah.
then something in the middle and something high,
Yeah.
and an ability to go from the first to the second to the third,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably that's all it is. The fine detailing can be sorted out later, but if there's too many
Hmm.
choices from the onset, the easiest choice is to make I won't choose any of them. I'm
Yeah.
just sack it off.
100% I agree, because I always suggest, it's funny you mentioned the menu, Ian, because we went on a cruise with my mum in January, and I remember my mum saying to me, I don't want to go to that restaurant because they've got a limited menu. And I said, but is it quality you need or quantity? Like, and she, because she was complaining that she wasn't real, she didn't like, for example, the American diner, she didn't like the Chinese, the orange, all the choice you get on a cruise ship. So I said, right, it's been a week, Mum, you've not been happy with any of the meal choices, let's go to the one that's got the limited menu but it's got the quality. And we actually ate at that restaurant 3 times in the last week, and we also went for breakfast and lunch, because it wasn't about the quantity, it was about the quality. And soon as she understood that, we just kept repeating ourselves. And we did have to pay surplus for that restaurant, but it didn't matter because, of that choice and keeping it simple and about the quality. And it's funny you mention about, the shop and the choice. It's something we see as well. Your marketing is about getting people to that door, that that shop door to open up. Whatever happens between the shop door to the till is all about, the customer, experience and building relationships and refining, as you mentioned just then, Ian, the sales experience and keeping them in your shop for longer ultimately. But 100%, I do believe at the moment the problem very much is too much choice, because ultimately, if they feel overwhelmed and you miss the point of the conversation on how you can help them overcome, that itch that they need to scratch at the moment, they just basically wouldn't
Yeah.
buy. So it's great to see that we're on the same page with that. So can you provide any examples to our listeners which might help them at this moment in time, if they're feeling, quite overwhelmed, that, things are fizzling out, they're not progressing long term with the customer, sales just feels a little bit stagnant at the moment. Is there any examples you can give, or top tips to help them get a little bit unstuck
Yeah.
with listening to this podcast?
Yeah. So it's more than just a reframe, right? But
Hmm.
if you take a spin on selling, if you come at it from a position of I'm selling, you're trying to get the client to make a certain choice,
Hmm.
right? But in reality, what you're trying to do is help the client make the best choice,
Yeah.
right? Because typically, the better the choice they make, that will be they take more things. They will take the better things because it helps them more, right?
Yeah.
So what we're actually after is helping someone to make a good choice. Nothing more sinister. So the word
Hmm.
selling, most people hate it, detest it. It's car salesman, it's timeshare, it's repugnant, right?
Hmm.
But in reality, all we're trying to do is help them make a good choice, the
Hmm.
best buying choice. And I always used to work on the basis, if I was selling this to my grandma,
Yeah.
what would I need to do to help her make the best choice? It
Hmm.
wasn't put her in a headlock. It wasn't to bamboozle her with jargon. It wasn't to make things complicated. It wasn't to force her to make a choice that she was uncomfortable with, so she bought under duress.
Yeah.
It was about how do you make the choice easier.
Yeah.
Now, most businesses will explain what they do, and they will try to show their expertise by using industry jargon, by using complicated examples to
Hmm.
impress people, but they're impressed, but they don't understand,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't understand, you can't make a good choice, right? If this is how much information you need to make a choice and
Mm-hmm.
you knew half of it, that means the other half is replaced with a guess.
Mm-hmm.
And do most people like guessing for money?
Yeah.
No, right? They don't like guessing for money.
Yeah. No.
So it's
Yeah, you're
about,
right. They don't.
right, to make it's as simple as this. It doesn't take the word sales and throw it as far away as you can possibly imagine, right?
Yeah.
In anything, to make a good choice, you need to understand the choice. Whatever you don't understand is replaced with a guess.
Yeah.
And the thing you're going to take is going to cost you some money. Do you like guessing for money? If the answer is no,
Mhm.
then we've got a problem.
Yeah.
They don't understand enough.
Yeah.
Is it easier to understand with complicated words, complicated examples, loads of jargon? Or is
Mhm.
it easier to understand with 6-year-old simple numbers, easy peasy stories, anything that a 6-year-old Fisher Price simple logic,
Yeah.
right? The stupidest question ever asked is, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So if you were for them to make a good choice, they need to understand the choice. So we go, well, I better check then to check my potential client understands.
Yeah.
And we say, does that make sense? Is that clear? Do you understand some variant of that?
Yeah.
There's only one answer to the question, does that make sense? The answer is yes, because the other answer is no, I'm thick.
Okay.
Most people would rather agree to something that they didn't understand
Mm-hmm.
than put their hand up and say, I don't get it. Can you explain it again?
Yeah.
Right? But when you explain something in a simple way, they go, oh, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
And that's the moment. So it's not about making things, it's not about selling, it's about making it easier to buy. Can you explain what your service does in a way that a 6-year-old child would understand?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. We normally say, does a 10-year-old understand it? And if a 10-year-old understands it, then you've got it on the money, because it's about keeping it simple. And now that's abbreviation for our listeners is, you might have heard this in marketing before, and sales KISS. Now, I like to use that abbreviation in terms of keeping it simple and 100% no jargon. If a 10 or a 6-year-old ultimately doesn't understand, then how does your customer? And it's something that we always say, if somebody is feeling, fatigue and frustrated with not generating enough sales or marketing leads for the business, then go to somebody who's completely impartial and ask them for feedback. What is it that I do? And what
Yeah.
is it that the problem that I solve from this? And someone will come back to you and say, I don't get it.
Yeah. Can I
Because,
develop?
yeah, of
Can
course
I
you can.
develop KISS?
Yeah.
I hear this all the time, KISS, and it gets on my nerves. I'll
Does
tell you
it?
why. No, it shouldn't do. It
Yeah.
shouldn't do. I'll tell you why it does. Because when you talk about this, most people will say, I use KISS, right? They do not,
No.
right?
True.
So I'll give an example. Someone comes on to a networking meeting and he says, I do VoIP.
Yeah.
And the audience, externally or internally, go, what the hell are you talking about? What on earth is VoIP?
Yeah.
Now, someone else says, we don't do that, Ian. We use KISS. We remove the jargon. We say it's voice over internet protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone in the room is saying or thinking, right? Voice over internet protocol is not easier than VoIP. If you say to someone, do you know what VoIP is? They say yes. What they mean by yes is, I know it stands for voice over internet protocol, of which they have no idea what it
Yeah.
means.
I
They can
understand.
expand an acronym. That's not understanding. That's just being able to turn those 4 letters into 4 words that mean nothing more.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the problem is, the business is an expert at solving the problem. The person that has the problem is a beginner.
Yeah.
Right? Everything is easy to an expert. I've got a degree in mathematics. So therefore, relative to that, the one you do before that would be A-level mathematics. Now, I don't know what percentage of the UK population has done A-level mathematics, but let's say it's 5%.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, by just eliminating, that means 95% of people won't have done it. So just because from a degree to A-level is easy, it's not easy enough.
Yeah.
Taking what we said about 6-year-old or a 10-year-old simple, both will work.
Yeah.
Right? Unless someone is listening to this sells to anyone less than the age of 10,
Mm-hmm.
this will work. Go up to a friend, yes. How about, without getting arrested, go up to a 10-year-old, a niece, a nephew, a son, a daughter, a
Hmm.
friend's son or daughter, a 10-year-old, a real one, not someone who's 23 that doesn't know it. Actually go up to a 10-year-old that you know, give them one line of what you say, and then say, "Little Timmy, can you tell me what you think I do?" If they've got absolutely no idea, it's infinitely too complicated.
Yeah.
If you give them one line and they and repeat it back to you, and some of it makes sense and the other is wrapped round their head,
Hmm.
it's called 6-year-old simple or 10-year-old simple because that's who you should be play testing it on.
Yeah.
There's no point calling it 10-year-old simple and then work with someone in their 40s
Yeah.
because that is
Sure.
nonsense. But
That's
the biggest problem is people, if if they were keeping it so simple, if they had 10 conversations with a problem, if they had 10 conversations with 10 people who had a problem they could solve, are
hmm
all 10 saying yes?
yeah.
Let's say 3 said yes and 7 said no. Why would 7 people who had a problem and they're the best solution to it, why would 7 people deliberately knacker themselves up and deliberately not choose the best solution to the
hmm
problem?
Yeah.
Because the conversation wasn't as simple as they thought it was.
hmm
People say it's a no-brainer. Well, if it was a no-brainer, then 10 out of 10 would say yes.
Yeah.
3 out of 10 is not anywhere near. Even if they said 8, it's
hmm
still too hard for 2.
Yeah.
And it's so, and again, it's not. It's like when you think you've made it. Can I ask you the simplest maths question you've ever been asked in your life?
Yes.
Okay, so if I said to you, is 1 plus 1 probably the first question you've ever got asked in mathematics? Would that be reasonable?
Yeah.
It's not reasonable.
Okay.
Right? Because you learnt 1 plus 1 at the age of 5, but 3 years prior to that, when you were 2, you didn't know 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 like that, adding them together, but you
hmm
did know what fish looked like in a tank
Yeah.
and sheep in a pen. And your mum said, "How many fish in the fish tank?" And you went, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fishes, mummy. Right? That was 3 years prior to 1 plus 1. So the point is, when you think you've got it easy and people are not saying yes,
hmm
it's not easy enough. It's your fault. You're the expert. Find something easy. If you already think it's the easiest thing in existence, you won't go looking. But if
Yeah.
you go, "It's still not easy enough, I will look again," there is always something easier. Counting fish is easier than 1 plus 1. Because if you don't do that, it must be their fault for getting the
hmm
client's choice for making a bad choice. And you can't blame them for not understanding. They're the beginner. So it's like, make it easy, and when you've made it easy, make it easier. And when you've made it easier, make it easier again, and keep going till it's impossible to make it easier than that, and then look one more time.
Amazing. Absolutely love that because you are right. I mean, we do share about case, we do share about things, but we've never, gone to a 10-year-old to ask them and keep making it simple because they are the beginner, aren't they? And
Yeah.
and that guys is the reason why Ian is the expert and he's got a very unique and a different way to the approach of sales. So I really hope you've kind of enjoyed the podcast and the discussion for episode 29 because I, for one, I always believe we're always learning and we're learning from our peers. And I've, even in my own business, have gone away with some great top tips there. So if anyone is needing this at the moment, Ian, and listening to this and thinking, God, that's me, I've not thought of it that way. How can I keep it simple? I need to learn more about this because it's resonating. How do they work with you? What's next? How can they follow up with you from this podcast? Because I know a few of my listeners are going to be like a light bulb, listening to this, thinking I want to find out more about how I can work with Ian. So how would they do that?
So, if they want to reach out to me or find me on LinkedIn, I'm pretty easy to find, Ian Genius. I'm pretty easy to find on the web as well, iangenius.co.uk. But typically, it's a conversation. I
Mhm,
solve sales problems,
mhm.
but I can only solve them if they're willing to tell me what those problems are. Is
Yeah.
it that they're not confident selling themselves? Is it that they're not able to simplify their message? Is it that they're getting frustrated that clients are obsessing over price because they're not seeing the value? Or is it all of them?
Mhm.
My superpower is I have failed more times than they have tried. I have spent 25 years struggling with the problems, finding ways to get past them. I've made 11,000, easily 11,000 hours of mistakes over 25 years, but I found quicker, easier, more effective, more ethical ways to get past them. But if they're happy, if they come to me and say, I'd love to do better, and I'd love more clients taking better services for more money, I'd love to help more clients, help clients more, some ambition, a burning desire to do better. I don't like this, I don't know how to do this, I'm frustrated by this, I hate this. Good, I get it. And I'm open to new solutions. Honesty, ambition, and an open mind. That's all it takes. They just reach out to me if they want to have a chat. Hi, Ian, do you want to have a chat? I will never close a sale. I will never ask anyone if they want to work with me. My intention is to make it so easy that they say, I would like to work. So there'll be no close. At the end of any conversation, I will never say to someone, do you want it? They have to say to me, I want to use you. So it's absolutely relaxed, easy peasy.
Amazing. So if you guys are listening to this and want an easy peasy approach and want to contact Ian, please do. As you can tell just through this podcast, he is an expert, you know, in this profession. So I highly recommend a conversation following up through the details just shared. This podcast will be available towards the end of May on our channels. Again, just to recap, on Ask Zoe through YouTube or through Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Play. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube if you do choose that format, because that will update you on all episodes that become live and give you access to our backlog, which is really exciting. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Ian, for joining us for this podcast episode to discuss the topic of sales and lead generation. And we will see you again next time. Thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you soon.